Most leaders think they need a better strategy. They're wrong. What they actually need is a different lens. In my 12 years as a Fortune 500 vice president, I didn't use common sense. I used something Dr. W. Edwards Deming called profound knowledge. Here's the four-part system that gave my division an industry-leading ROI while everyone else was just guessing. Hello, and welcome to my sixth video. Today I will be covering a topic that Dr. Deming called profound knowledge and one called an operational definition. I agree with him when he stated that every leader needs to understand these concepts. That includes anyone who has someone reporting to them. Deming grouped four components together and called this profound knowledge. These components work as pieces of a puzzle to form a complete picture. The components are appreciation for a system. The second is knowledge of variation. The third is theory of knowledge. And the last is psychology. Think of these as four legs of a table. If one leg is shorter than the rest or missing, your leadership table is going to wobble and eventually the whole system will probably collapse. Let's look at these individually. Number one, appreciation of a system. A Deming definition would probably be something like this. A system is a group of functions or activities of interdependent components that work together for the aim of the organization. Every company or organization that has more than one department has interdependent components, and just like an orchestra, must cooperate and coordinate their activities to maximize the performance. An orchestra is a great example of this. It's important to realize that none of these components, or you could think of components as departments, should attempt to maximize their performance at the expense of the other components or departments, but rather to work as a system to produce the best results. For example, in an orchestra, the first violin shouldn't play louder in order to stand out than the notes of the sheet music or what the conductor desires. Each member within that orchestra knows that they are to play the music only as it is written, and the conductor should know the contribution that each player is to make and to how, working together, the orchestra will play the musical score. If we apply this to a typical business, the leader should know what each department is capable of and responsible for producing for the system so that all departments are optimized for the greater good of the system. Individual departments should not attempt to perform in a manner that is not in keeping with the desired results of the system. You don't want a prima donna department in your organization. And individual departments' numbers are not to be optimized to the point where it causes the system to be reduced in performance. So when I hear or see a company that is having a competition between various departments, I always wonder what potential damage they are doing to their system. A system, of course, must have an objective, and that objective is a value judgment determined by the leadership. We will talk more about this in another video. The next component is knowledge of variation. I can't stress how important this concept is. I think most leaders today don't have a clue. Due to its importance, we will definitely have a deep dive into this in another video. But for now, allow me to state that every process that a worker is asked to perform contains a certain degree of built-in variation. For example, imagine we asked a professional bowler to roll 100 games using the same ball in the same lane and record a score of each. This would be the same person repeating the same process over and over. Everything would be the same. Will the scores be the same? Of course not. If you have ever bowled, you would probably realize repeating the same score every time for 100 games would be impossible. So there's a built-in variation in the process of this bowler bowling a game. Now, imagine if we had 10 different people bowling on 10 different lanes, and yet we expect them all to produce the same score. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? It certainly does to me. And yet I've seen company after company expect different workers doing the same task and hoping they're going to produce the same result time after time. Again, to me, this is crazy. For now, just remember that variation exists in just about everything, every process a business does. Our next component, theory of knowledge, or what if. In this case, I want you to remember that prediction leads to knowledge, and knowledge makes you a more informed leader. To help you understand this, I will use a simple example Dr. Deming used in his seminars. A rooster had a theory that was based on data, which led him to believe that every morning, after he did his cock-a-doodle-doo, the sun would come up. It worked every morning. It was a fact, and it had been repeatedly proven. Until one day he slept in, and when he looked out, the sun was already up. His theory and prediction was accurate until it wasn't, and then it had to be changed. The rooster's theory led him to new knowledge, and that his previous theory was no longer valid. He had gained knowledge. Now he needed to develop a new theory. Without theory, experience has no meaning. Therefore, without theory, there is no learning. Theory leads to prediction, which leads to knowledge. Information is not knowledge. Facts are not knowledge. Remember, theory leads to prediction, which leads to knowledge. Let me say that again. Theory leads to prediction, which leads to knowledge. Information is not knowledge. Facts are not knowledge. Remember, theory leads to prediction, which leads to knowledge, and knowledge makes you a better leader. It's only with theory and prediction that experience teaches anything. How does this work in the real world? Let me share what it did for me. I managed a warehouse, and we would at times pick over 50,000 items a day. These had to be picked, packed, loaded, and shipped the same day. So there was a time element involved there and also an accuracy element involved. Sometimes our employees would make a mistake and pick the wrong item, send the wrong thing. As a team, members involved in that process met to consider how we could reduce the errors and not lose time. When we analyzed how many returns we were getting each month and how expensive it was to produce or process a return item, we developed a theory that led us to predict it might be worth buying electronic scanners to reduce the number of inaccurate picked items. We didn't just guess, we used the theory of knowledge to test our prediction. So we purchased a scanner. It proved to be so successful that we purchased enough scanners for all the staff. Our error rate dropped by 92%. Our theory and prediction led us to new knowledge. As a reminder, if you find this of value, please click on the like button below. The last component is knowledge of psychology. Leaders must remember that while we are all human beings, we are different from one another. One of us likes red, one likes blue, another likes yellow. One eats quickly, one eats slowly. One walks fast, and one walks slow. One person speaks loudly, the other person softly. One person doesn't take criticism well, the other one lets it roll off their back like water off a duck. All of us are different in so many ways, and it's important for a leader to take that individualism into account when interacting with his or her staff. Some people learn by listening, some by doing, some by reading, some by watching. We are all different. A leader doesn't need to be a psychologist, but he or she must be aware of these differences and use them for the optimization of everybody's ability. This is not a ranking of people. It is far from it. This is simply realizing that we are all different and should be approached in a manner that best fits our personality. I couldn't leave this topic without mentioning another concept Deming called the joy of work. All of us are born with this, and I would describe it as a desire to perform work in a manner that makes us internally proud of what we have done. However, here's a big warning. Traditional American management does a terrific job of destroying this joy of work. I will dive deeper into this in another video, but I would like for you to remember this phrase, joy of work. In summary, profound knowledge has 4 components. Appreciation of a system, meaning manage a system, not individuals. Knowledge of variation, realize that there's variation in everything we do. Theory of knowledge, knowledge leads to prediction, which leads you to theory leads to prediction, which leads to knowledge. And psychology, everyone should be treated differently. There's one other concept I would like to share with you today. It's called an operational definition. If everyone on your team became proficient at using operational definitions, it would lead to a more effective communication with your team and a more efficient operation of your business. An operational definition is an agreed upon method of communicating that allows each party to better understand the meaning of what is being asked. It helps ensure that ultimately the customer receives what he or she wants. For example, let's say I walk into a restaurant and ask for a salad with ranch dressing. Without an operational definition between me and the waiter, several things could happen. 1, I could receive a salad with a small amount of dressing on the side. 2, I could receive a salad with a small amount of dressing poured on top. 3, I could receive a salad with a large amount of dressing poured on top. 4, I could receive a salad, which is what I would really want, that's already pre-mixed for me, so I don't have to mix it myself. Now, to further define this operational definition, as we could in a business environment, I could ask that the salad be of a certain size by weight and have a specific amount of dressing pre-mixed before it's delivered. We could further define this so that the salad should be no more than a certain age, and that the dressing be of a certain temperature, and that the plate holding the salad should be at a certain temperature when it arrives at my table. So you can see an operational definition can get into some serious detail, but they are so useful in business and manufacturing as they prevent rework and overdos. Think of an operational definition as a great way to make sure everyone is on the same page and understands the same meaning of the desired procedure or outcome. In business, it's the difference between telling a manager to get the reports in early versus saying all Friday reports must be uploaded to the server by 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in a PDF format. That's an operational definition. Learn to use them. Thanks for watching, and next time we will dive into Deming's famous 14 points, the central theme of his teachings. Stay safe, and thank you for watching.